And we are recording.
Great. Hail MetALL Tribe. Well, this is Eddie and Jay once again in another episode of Metal Research Podcast. And today we have a really special guest, and it's no other than Brian Wilson, one of the
Hi,
most
guys.
accomplished drummers in the scene. Brian, thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure is all ours. Now, I believe Eddie has a couple of icebreakers that he wants to send your way, so I'm gonna
All
let
right.
him have it.
Um, I'm too excited about this, to be honest. I want to publicly thank you for your time, Brian. This is really cool of you.
I appreciate it, man. Good to be here.
So I guess the number one icebreaker that I keep asking to all of our guests is clearly you are, and I was saying this at the beginning, an accomplished musician. You've clearly devoted your life to the pursuit of essentially writing and composing and being the best, right? If it would have not been music, what do you think you would have? What would have been the second? What would have been your life choice?
That's a good question, and I don't know if there even is an answer. From day one, this was what I wanted to do, was play music and play heavy metal. You know, I grew up listening to my dad's record collection, and it was all new wave of British heavy metal, all 80s heavy metal, and that was what I grew up with, and I fell in love with it from a very young age, and there was nothing else in my mind that I wanted to do. It was just an obsession from as long as I can remember. And as soon as I was able to start pursuing it, I did, and I haven't stopped since.
That's
So
great.
if as far as what I would be doing if I didn't play music, I couldn't tell you. I'd probably be uh, delivering pizzas or in jail or be in jail or something. I don't know.
And you're all in, man. All for the music.
Yeah,
That's very inspiring, man. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of uh, guys out there that feel the same way. That they don't want anything else in life but music, and they may doing some menial jobs out there, but they're not losing hope. So I'm sure that when they hear you speaking the way you do, they really gonna feel it.
yeah. It's something that takes a lot of dedication. You know, it's taken over my life in a very big way.
Yeah,
But and I wouldn't want it any other way. I couldn't imagine doing anything else.
can just imagine. I wanted to ask you, can you remember how old were you when you got your first drum kit?
I was about 12 years old.
Okay.
Uh, I wanted to. I mean, growing up listening to so much music, you know, since I was born, really. Uh, I wanted to play, and about like 6 years old, I said I wanted to play guitar. So my parents bought me a guitar. I went for guitar lessons off and on. I just didn't have the discipline, you know, being a 6-year-old.
Right.
Right.
Uh, and my fingers didn't even fit on the fretboard. My fingers were too small. I couldn't even reach the top string, and I just couldn't. It wouldn't stick with me, and I did it on and off, you know, for a few years, and I just never really got anywhere with it. And then around some point, I heard Hard and Heavy, the first Anvil record, and that was the first time that drums really stood out to me. And I said, I think I want to play drums because guitar wasn't working out for me, and I had to play something. And I started to realize, hey, drums can be pretty cool. And
Oh
then
yeah.
I got my first drum set at, it was an electronic set at about 12 years old, and I never looked back. that was the instrument for me.
Awesome.
12. Yeah, we were on the warm up. I got, I asked permission to sort of disclose this on the chat, but Brian is only 24 years old.
That's
And
right.
I personally find that incredibly admirable because music takes a lot of devotion and a lot of dedication. And it does take, I would argue, quite a while for you to sit down, do your practicing, put in the hours to get to sort of the level you're at right now and to achieve it at, I mean, it's a relatively early age, I would argue. It's, I'm already inspired. Like this conversation has already been so rewarding to me. It's unbelievable, man.
I mean,
Like,
I started playing in my first band at 15 years old, and that was with just people from my high school. But
Were
even
they
since
called, just for the sake of curiosity?
it was a thrash band called Frostbite.
That's a
It
badass
was
name, though.
it was me and the only other metalheads in my high school, and I was the youngest member of the band, and that ended up being somewhat of an ongoing theme, was playing with people older than me.
Yeah, most definitely. Like, damn. Actually, talking about playing with people older than you, I wanted to ask you, were you a fan of YNGWIE MALMSTEEN before playing with him?
Was I a fan?
Yeah, was you a fan?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've always been a fan of Ingve, and I mean, growing up, I had my dad's record collection to guide me, and every '80s band, whether it was no matter how obscure it was or how popular it was, I was exposed to it, and so I've known Ingve's music and I've heard it my whole life, and I've always, it's always been one of those bands that has been around as long as I can remember, and I've always been a fan. Yeah.
Shit, I can't just imagine. Actually, I can't imagine what it feels to play with somebody of that caliber. Like he was one of the guys that when I was a child, I was I he was like like a demigod. I was like, holy shit, how that guy plays like that? Like, come on.
Absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know the feeling. I saw him. I remember sitting in front row when I was about 13 years old. So it's pretty crazy to think about in retrospect.
but I wanna bring the conversation back to you, man, because we're talking about the caliber of Ingve, which for sure respect. But
Mm-hmm.
what does it say about the person who gets to sit on the drum kit to back him up on stage? I gotta argue that's pretty incredible. What do you think are the main challenges that for you as a musician? What do you think that this role, this gig, this role you're fulfilling? What do you think it entails?
What are some challenges about it?
Yeah, exactly.
Uh, I wouldn't say it's the most challenging gig. Playing wise, I've played some pretty physically intense stuff. Especially looking back to when Hellwitch was really active. That was like 200 BPM every song.
hell yeah.
Yeah, and I was doing hour sets on tour and all the time, playing blast beats and, just as intense as heavy metal gets. And going from that to Ingve, it's easier. The Ingve set is maybe about 90 minutes, but it's not anywhere near as physically intensive as some of the stuff that I've done. So it's not the most challenging playing wise, but it is much closer to what I like to play. I've done some pretty, intense, really extreme stuff in the past, but I really like playing straightforward heavy metal best. And that's why I formed Midnight Skull, so I could do that. My own band, and
Yeah. Kudos to that, man. Like your first show at Las Rosas, man. Like I remember, like I saw you there, and I'm like, he looks really young, man. And then you start playing there, and I was mind blown. Like, holy shit! And actually, that day I met your bandmate, JP Brown, and
Yeah.
I didn't know who the fuck he was. And we're just shooting the shit, and he was like, "That's my drummer there." And like, so like I was like,
Yeah.
"Really? What's your band?" So he told me, and then he commented that you also play for YNGWIE MALMSTEEN, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Then I got to the first row there.
That was a great show. We had a great response that night. And actually, I think that show was like 2 years ago to this date, which is interesting. But a Midnight Spell has accomplished quite a bit since then. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to tour because of COVID, obviously.
Yeah.
But we've put out our first
Fuck
album.
Ronan.
Yeah, we signed to Iron Oxide Records, and we put out our debut full length album, and it's been really, really well received, and I'm really grateful for that.
Dude,
Yeah.
awesome. So let's. I think that's an interesting direction of the conversation, right? And we also mentioned it on the warm up. Metal Archive says you're like in 1100,000 billion projects.
I know it does. It could use some updating.
And let's make it this an interesting. Let's debug the Metal Archives. Okay, so right now, what are your active projects?
All right, why don't we run through? Are you on Metal Archives right now?
I do. I probably have it as a cheat sheet here, but I don't think I do. Let's. I mean, okay, found it.
But I'll tell you. Tell me what it says I'm active in.
Cool. Well, active bands, right? Buziraco, drums since
Buziraco.
2018.
Okay, that is not so much of a real band. That was a studio project that I was asked to be a part of. I just basically guested drums. I guested on a 7-inch. We've never played live. That's not. I guess you could say that was more of a session thing I did.
Oh, okay. So
But
interesting. So you wouldn't call it an active band?
No, absolutely not. We never played live, and it was 2 songs that somebody contacted me to play for, and it was put out as a 7-inch, and we never did anything else.
Alrighty.
So
Okay.
I would call that not an active band.
Yeah, because I'm seeing here there are categories, right? There's active band, past bands, something called live, and something called miscellaneous stuff.
Yeah.
I guess in the interest of time, let's just help them with active, okay?
Yeah, let's stick to active bands.
So the second one is Hell Witch, drums since 2015 to present.
Okay. That one is correct. The band is kind of on hiatus right now, so I wouldn't say active is the right word, but I've not left the band, and we will return one day. So, put an asterisk next to that one.
Looking forward to that one, though.
Huh?
I'm looking forward to that one, though.
You and me both.
With that whole lineup, though, because sometimes there's like one member missing, so I want everybody there.
It's not always easy, but yeah, no, we will return. We will return.
That's sweet to hear, man.
Oh yeah.
So third one out of a total of 6, it's Midnight Spell. Drums since 2019.
Yeah, it's actually 2017. I was a founding member.
Cool.
And that one's definitely accurate. Yeah.
Nice. Alrighty. So fourth one, Trash or Die.
Thrash or Die. Okay. Technically, yes, I'm a member, but that band is just not doing anything. We haven't played live since I want to say 2019, and we haven't I think the other guys in the band have been working on new music here and there, but I haven't, heard any of it, and I've been busy with a lot of things myself.
Wow.
So,
What is Brutal Brian?
Uh,
It says there,
that's my
trash or
nickname.
dry? Ask Brutal
Yeah,
Brian.
that's my nickname. I picked up that nickname from Pat in Hellwitch. Uh, when I first joined Hellwitch, they the guy I replaced on drums for that band was named Joe, and they used to call him Joe Witch. And when I joined, people started to call me Brian Witch for a very short time, and then Pat was like, "No, it's Brutal Brian." And then he started introducing me as that on stage, and it kind of just stuck. And then all of a sudden, people everywhere were just calling me Brutal Brian,
That's awesome.
and it
Hey,
just stuck.
you will make a Nathan explosion proud though.
All right,
Yeah,
fifth one is a wall.
well, that band is long gone. That was me, and that was like a hard rock band I was a part of in like 2014 maybe. Uh, we never recorded anything. We only played a few shows. It was original material, but it never really cultivated, never culminated. We never really did much, so that one's definitely not active.
All right. So if anyone from the Metal Archives are listening, thank you for your time and listening to us. And please move wool to past bands.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, final one.
Actually, okay, there's another one. There's
Yeah,
another one
Is
there.
there
the,
another
the,
one?
the, the, the final one, 6 out of 6. It says YNGWIE MALMSTEEN since
Oh, yeah.
2018.
Yeah, that's correct.
Oh, of course. Last but not least, actually, I have a last one. Well, maybe you will correct me, but I hear from two very reliable sources that you're replacing Roy Corrado in the drums for Fathom. Is that accurate?
It might be accurate.
Be accurate.
I have to speak to some people first before I can confirm nor deny that information, though.
Alrighty, cool. So we have a
Well,
potential surprise there.
right, if that happens to be true, shit, Roy is a really good drummer. So if somebody's gonna,
He's a good friend of mine too. Nothing but respect for Roy.
yeah, he's a great drummer. So if somebody's gonna take his place, better be you, man.
Fathom's a
Nope.
great band. I love those guys.
That sounds like interesting surprises along the way. We look forward to those. So going back to yourself as a person, right? Because I don't know, I have this thing for this podcasting where I'm all about the human being behind the projects and the people behind the music itself. Let me ask you another funky question here that I always ask the guests: is music is such an extensive realm, right? It's so that diverse, and I'm curious. So, you said you grew up exposed to like lots of music. Your dad had a music collection and stuff. So, outside of metal, do you have like any quote unquote guilty pleasure kind of genres that sometimes you find yourself listening to that and you're like, what the heck am I doing listening to this? But I'm loving it. So I'm kind of interested, kind of curious.
I wouldn't call anything I listen to a guilty pleasure. If I listen to something, I'm proud to listen to it and I'm proud to like it. I won't hide it.
There we
Uh,
go.
I think that's kind of a lame thing to do. But I think most, or at least 90% of what I listen to falls under the realm of at least rock and roll of some sort. I mean, things I listen to outside of metal still have like drums and guitar and same, style, relatively the same style or the same, same form or whatever the word is. I can't think of it. Uh, Led Zeppelin is my favorite band, for instance, and I wouldn't really call them a heavy metal band. Uh, I really, really love. I like a lot of '70s music, a lot of '70s rock, and that's also not heavy metal, but it still falls under the umbrella of rock and roll of some sort, which it all goes hand in hand, I think. I'm trying to think way outside of the realm, and I guess it's not something I really listen to a lot, but sometimes I get into a rabbit hole or something. Is I like old, really, really old school music, like 50s and 40s music, like Cab Calloway, and uh, I like a little bit of Motown actually. I wasn't really exposed to that growing up. I don't even know where I really picked up picked that up from, but
Like Frank Sinatra stuff like that too. Or,
yeah, no, I have nothing but respect for artists like that. Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, it's not something I would consider myself an authority on or something I listen to that often. But sometimes, I'm on YouTube or something and I
you
end up. Go ahead.
you only have time in front of you to become an authority on whatever you want. Just 24 years old, man. Give yourself a break.
Yeah. But sometimes I'm really fascinated by listening to old recordings of music. Yeah, and it's not just the music itself, but the recording techniques as well intrigues me. The recording quality and how they recorded back then too has
Right.
something to do with it, I think. Because back in those days, they would set one microphone up in the middle of a room, and how you would mix is by how everybody was from the microphone. That's pretty incredible to me. That all the amazing music that was recorded back in the day with that configuration.
I think there's a
So
couple of YouTubers, right? There's a couple of YouTubers that have a couple of, maybe not a couple, but a few videos about trying to duplicate specific recordings using like, I think Jared Dines does that. There's a couple of videos in where he emulates recording techniques from like a long time ago, and he also tries to achieve like the equivalent to digital effects like delay or phaser, and he uses like purely analog technology. And I agree, that's pretty fascinating stuff. Like,
yeah, I think I have seen that too. It was a while ago though, but I'm pretty sure I have seen that. So that probably has something to do with why I like listening to those things. But yeah, I guess that's the best answer I could give you on that question.
that's dude, that's an awesome answer, right? And I find that for every guest that we have that we ask that question, we're always like surprised, and we're always pleased as to know, they all have the common topic that music is vast and worthy of exploring.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
I think Joaquin has
Hey
a question.
Brian, when last time I talked to you, you were telling me that you were heading to Europe this upcoming weekend, but you left it at that. So I was doing a little bit of digging to see what in all those how many projects are listed in the advancing in that page, like 7 or something.
Yeah,
Anyhow, what I did find out that YNGWIE is gonna play in the 11th episode of the Arsenal Festival in Serbia.
yes,
So
that's correct. And about 12 hours from now, I'll be on a plane heading to Eastern
right,
Europe.
yeah. So yeah, so here's the thing. Is it your first time attending that festival? How you feel
Yeah,
about that?
I'm excited, and I haven't crossed an ocean in almost 2 years because of obvious reasons.
Right? They,
So
they, they, did they have to pick inside your brain already?
I think I'm going to have to do that. I haven't done it yet, but
Oh man,
I'm pretty sure a COVID test is required for coming back to the United States. So,
ouch.
hey man, the things we do for heavy metal.
Right. That's education there. And also, is there any like Serbian band that you're looking forward to, share a stage with, or any other international band that will be attending the festival?
I would love to tell you that there is, but unfortunately, I looked at the bands playing on that festival and it was a pretty foreign language to me. I'm not
You,
too well versed in my
I
Serbian.
feel you, man. It was all like ancient Greek to me. I was like,
Yeah.
fuck, I only understand the dates, and okay, I'm out of here. Like, you know,
Yeah,
yeah, it was a complicated task.
I believe it. I believe it.
But hey, I want to hear all about it when you come back, because right now you may not have any expectation, but hey, maybe you'll find gold there.
Maybe, you never know. I mean, I've played some pretty weird places. I've played some pretty I mean, most of them are great places. I can't really think of any that weren't. I'll play anywhere, man. Give
Nice.
me a drum set and a crowd, and I'll be there.
That's awesome. What's the? I have two questions. Number one, what's a memorable place? What's a memorable place you've ever played at? And hopefully we can bridge that question into, I kind of want to, let you have a word about those ongoing projects that are actually doing things right now that we talked about this. You're going to survey with YNGWIE, sort of curious as to, what actual projects you have going on, that you want to, tell us about, and that you want to, get the word across that they're happening. So I guess, what's a memorable place,
Mhm.
and what's awesome? What can't you wait to talk about?
Um, memorable place I played. One of the coolest places I think I ever played was the Sloss Furnace in Alabama with Hellwitch. It was a decommissioned factory from the 1800s that used to produce like steel and metal, which is pretty fitting, I guess.
Right?
And it was this incredible building that had all these tunnels that went underground, and it was pitch black, and there was really no security stopping you from going anywhere, which was pretty interesting in itself. And the equipment that was underneath that building was so gigantic. I I couldn't really describe it, and the fact that people used to operate those machines with the minimal technology they had back in those days, that was a very interesting place to see, and a very cool place to say I played at. Nonetheless, I don't think there are many shows there in general, so I'm lucky to have played one of the few over there. So that one definitely stands out as memorable. And other
Nice.
than that, I think most, even the weirdest places I've played, it still ends up being, a club with a stage of some sort. So that one, for that reason, sticks out. As far as things what I'm willing or I'm looking forward to talking about, uh, Midnight Spell would probably be number one.
Awesome.
That's you know been my brainchild and my baby for a long time now, and I've put so much work into that band. And timing was bad because we put out our. This is going to be a common theme, has been for a lot of bands. We put out our first album during COVID times, so that didn't help. But as soon as we are able to, and as soon as we can, we will hit the road and we will tour. I don't know when it's going to be.
And
Hopefully sooner than later.
you need to come here to Nashville, and do Eddie a favor and also go to London.
Yeah, I want to play anywhere and everywhere. I plan on it. Like I said, I don't know when it'll be. There are some hurdles that we have to cross, and not only ourselves, but uh, with the world still has to heal a little bit. But we will when we can, and we have a lot more in store. We're working on new recordings. We're in the middle of that process right now. We've been working on lots of new music, We have our first show in almost 2 years, and that's coming up on August 7th, and that's going to be in here in South Florida. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. Anything Midnight Spell, I get very excited for because, that's the pride, that most near and dear project I'm a part of that's closest to my heart.
I
Because,
loved.
yeah.
I love that you said the world needs to heal a little. A little. I think I'm gonna steal it. It's
Yeah.
so accurate. I love it. That's a great.
Hey, we're gonna have to pay royalties then, man. Don't do it.
I'm
I
no
think
poet,
it
man,
makes
but
complete
sometimes
sense, man.
there's a lot going on right now. And I think all the bands are trying to navigate a post-COVID world right now. And I think it's going to be easier for the bigger bands to do it for a little while, but for the smaller bands, it's still a little difficult. So it's uncharted territory. Nobody really knows what they're doing at this point.
It's a sad reality. I agree with you. It's been a while since I've been to a concert. Um, but anyway, I have a final question on my end, but I guess Joaquin has a couple of others that he wants to.
That's what we're here for.
Hey,
What do you got?
I thought you were going to ask your question, man. Or
No.
you're actually.
No, I'm letting you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Hey, I have this question. It's like the second time I'll ask this question to somebody, but I think it's such a great question, and for you, it's even more feeding. But well, anyhow, what would you tell to a newcomer musician that's aspired to play professionally?
That's an interesting question. Always an interesting question. I've been asked that before. And it depends on what level they're at. I still think I have a long way to go myself. So it's hard to imagine people. It's weird to think that people come to me with that question. But I would say if they're just learning or just starting to play an instrument, I would say practice every day. There's no secret to getting better at an instrument. It's just consistency is key. And that's really for anything, really. So play every day or as often as you can. Practice, 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 and try to stand out. Do something that you think that your local music scene needs or the world music scene needs. Try to fill a hole that's missing. Don't try not to be what everyone else is doing. Be original, and that's what's going to make you stand out from the crowd, and that's what's going to get you noticed.
Damn, that's a sweet
And
answer, man.
that was yes, sir, great answer. Now, I kind of feel that this whole conversation had gravitated around music, but hey, Brian, when you're not making awesome music, what the heck are you doing, man? Like, what rocks your boat?
When I'm not playing, sleeping.
Man, you're all in.
I mean, no, I like other things too. I like movies.
What's your favorite movie?
Oh, that's a hard
Well,
one.
give me a top 5.
Top 5. Pulp Fiction is way up there.
Hell yeah, Tarantino all the way.
Yeah. I really like old B movies, old horror movies. Well, especially monster movies.
Like
freaking
Cannibal Holocaust.
I'm not a big fan of that one. I think that one is just a little. I think it's a little overrated. I think it's more just a shock value of it. But story-wise, I don't think it really did much for me.
Yeah,
I really like the Godzilla movies.
Okay. My kid's crazy about that. Freaking Gojira.
can never go wrong with the Japanese monster movies.
Hell
Kaiju.
no. Yeah. So what's your favorite monster? Do you like Gojira team or maybe King Ghidorah? Or what's your monster?
Who's my monster? That's an interesting one. I think Mothra is pretty cool, just for the fact
Okay.
that there's an Anvil song about her.
Hell yeah.
That's interesting. Interesting. You used a female pronoun for Mothra.
Yeah,
What?
I mean,
I'm
it's
pretty
interesting.
sure. I'm pretty sure that would be
Yeah,
biologically accurate.
that's the butterfly, right?
Right.
No,
I
it's the
didn't know she
moth.
was a female. It's a
Yeah,
moth.
yeah, the moth. Yeah, well, you know
I mean,
what
just,
I meant.
I'm always curious about that because in Spanish everything has a gender. Like absolutely
Yeah,
everything has a gender. It's in English and the way that its grammar is constructed that you can get away with being gender neutral at the language level. But in Spanish, absolutely everything has a gender, and and when I speak, sometimes I'm speaking English and my Spanish mind betrays me, and I start, like, for example, I use the her for guitars. Like, yeah, I like to play her, I like to practice with her, and all my English speaking friends like, really, her? And it's like, why is that so weird? I mean, ships are female in English, like you,
that's true.
but but anyway, I was curious about it. So listen, we want to be respectful of your time. You have to be on a plane in 12 hours, and it's not an easy flight, right? Because you're going to Serbia. There's a question I like to ask to all of our guests, and it's kind of cheesy,
All right.
but I think it helps us meditate a little. And it's about gratitude. It's about being grateful in general, right? And usually, what I ask is, if you could conjure up in your mind the one person or the people that you are really truly grateful with, right? Without mentioning their names, without disclosing their identities, what would you say to them out loud so that if they ever hear this, they can hear this.
Hmm. I mean, what can you say other than thank you? Sometimes it's the simplest answer is the best answer, and I think thank you is a good start. I mean, there are so many people I could mention. You said not without
No,
mentioning their
well,
name.
by the way, if you want to mention that, it's up to you.
Uh,
I mean, I leave it to the interviewee to
yeah,
make that call. It's up to you, really.
I mean, lots of people have done a lot of different things for me, and I'm grateful to all those people. From my parents, from supporting me and exposing me to the music in the first place, to people who inspired me to play drums and inspired me to play certain ways. Those There are so many people, like I couldn't even begin to. I'm a lucky person to have met some cool people along the way so
Nice.
far, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, that's why I
Glad you
phrase a
did,
question.
man.
That's why I phrase a question like that, right? Without mentioning them, because usually our guests are, believe it or not, all of them are. Well, I guess believe it or not doesn't really make sense. They do. They are very, quite grateful, and it's not about a laundry list of all those people right now. If you want to mention a couple, that's fine by us. But it's more about the message, right? I do believe in, like, expressing gratitude on the daily is something that really heals our souls, and I don't know. I kind of like to explore that side of our guests as well. But anyway, Joaquin, do you want to say anything to wrap it up? Because this guy's got to take a plane, man. I don't want to keep him too long.
Yeah, I feel
Have you
you.
packed? Have you
Feel
packed
it.
already?
I've begun to pack. I still
Oh,
have a
there we
little
go.
bit more to
Oh
do.
shit. We need to let you go, but before we do, a silly question here. Have you ride on Ingwit's Lambo?
You mean Ferrari?
Ferrari, my bad.
You don't want to. You don't want
I,
to
I
mix
hope
that up.
he doesn't get mad with me.
No, I have not. I've not ridden in it. I've seen them, but he's pretty protective of those.
Yes, so I hear.
Yeah.
Anyhow, man, safe trip. Thank you for being here, and I want to hear all about your experience in Serbia. Are you guys going to any other place after that, or that's it? Round trip.
Nothing immediately. We're going to Serbia for, I think we're only going to be there like a day and a half. So I don't need to pack that much. Then we got some shows in Texas in maybe a month or so. And then we got a more full-blown US tour in November and December. So I'm looking forward to that.
Okay.
The
Hell
dates are
yeah.
starting to roll
Maybe
back in.
I catch up with you in one of those. Well, man, Godspeed and keep it metal.
Thank you, sir. Always.
Yeah. Brian,
Always
thank you very
metal.
Hell
much for
yeah.
your time. Thank you very much for your time, especially before flight. Really appreciate it. I guess we can kill the recording in 3, 2, 1. Everybody, thank you for listening and have a great day.